So here from the CBLOL, it's a 1-0 lead in this series for the Red Canids. Kabum with a shot to tie things up here in game 2. Ladies and gentlemen, it is so wonderful to be here with you this Saturday morning in August. Thank you so much for coming out. We are on to the Rift here for our second game of the day.
Oh, I'm excited to see how this one goes. We have a pretty average regular start here. Nothing too crazy. A little bit of pings coming out on that bot lane. We're getting a little spicy with some emotes. Just sizing each other up, trying to make sure we can at least have some, just the slightest bit of harmony in the first 30. That's all I'm asking for. Just a little bit of cooperation and harmony for the first 30 seconds of the game. We're at 52 seconds now, and that first hit comes out from the Yuumi on Duds the Boy. I actually really like Duds the Boy as an ADC. I think he's done a really great job proving himself as far as like positioning goes and keeping himself alive during fights. And not only that, but just carrying. He often seems to be, instead of the first target, which is the priority to die in a team fight, he seems to be like the third, fourth, fifth, sometimes the last person to pass away in those team fights, which is a really good sign for an ADC's longevity, is the survivability. So if anybody can make this Sivir just an absolutely disgusting enchanter boosted wrecking ball, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Duds the Boy. So I'm actually really hopeful that we'll see this composition play out as it was meant to, because you can't like, that's the whole point of the composition, right? Is you can't sacrifice that by having a careless lane phase. But also, what year is it? Alistar? Like, how much have you played against Alistar? What year is it? Do you know what you're doing anymore? Do you know how your spell shield works? So hopefully they are on the up and up. But I, for one, am very excited to see how this one goes. I still, results-based analysis, I think Red did a great draft here, and it's up to Kabum to actually step up and make this one happen.
Yep, it definitely is playmaking potential for both teams in this one, and Guigo getting that Ornn back once again is going to feel really nice. It was a very key part of a lot of team fights, had a couple of key teleport flanks into the Ornn horn to set up kills for Teton and Grevthar, and we'll have the opportunity to do much the same this time around, though it's going to be a little more difficult this time to break through. There's a more standard front line this time for Kabum. They can fight front to back a little better than they could last game, so it's not going to be as easy a task for Guigo to get going in these fights. But Aegis with an early flag and drag over the Drake pit to get the flank here onto Duds the Boy. Jojo on the hunt here. Aegis looking to get in, is not going to get the knockup, and Duds the Boy will just get to walk away from this. They'll trade some damage back and forth, but the Kabum bottom lane will be just fine.
They want to make it hurt. If you're going to come into our side of town, the least they can do is pile on the damage and the despair here as you walk into that lane. So not the greatest, but also enough to at least put the lane back in control so they can freeze it or do what they will with it. So a good little, take the pressure off the top there. We do have some roams coming in over here. The ever important crab. I'm trying to see what's being actually set up for the later parts of the game here. So far, we just seem to have Wiz walking around with reckless abandon, trying to scare people because he is Wukong. That's my impression of the pathing, anyway.
Yeah, the problem is Aegis has not left this bottom lane, so they force the flash out of Duds. The Boy may be able to take a kill. One more auto, that's first blood for Teton, but the response quick from Wiz, able to get in and trade back, so both 80 carries down, and it looks like Wiz wants to go right back in. The headbutt will actually deliver the Wukong to safety here. Thank you for the assist there, Jojo, says Wiz, and it is 1-1 here to start things off.
Oh man, we're gonna have another one of those, another like tit for tat where everything is so close and we can't seem to figure out who's coming ahead for quite some time. And once again, this laning phase actually kind of looks like a little bit flipped on its head like it was last time, but House does get actually bullied out of lane and is going to go for that recall. So strong laning phase from Red so far, but nothing crazy like the last game. What were we like? I think we were like 2 kills in for Guigo before that, so
yeah,
kind of a little bit slower.
Yeah, and I think that's really what Kabum is hoping for this time around. It's just a quieter early game, right? Parang got really heavily abused in the laning phase in game number 1, and maybe here in game 2, Guigo taking a lot of damage. Parang looking for the kill is actually going to get it, so we'll trade 1 for 1 in the top side. And the key there, Guigo does not get the kill credit. The kill gold goes to JoJo. So Parang has won that trade.
Yeah, that's exactly where, if you're gonna drop the gold where it stands, you may as well drop it somewhere that isn't your lane so it can't contest you. So ultimately, a really, really solid trade for Kabum. 110%, really good on the top lane. And it's good because if they can just keep on top of the top of Guigo here, then they're going to be okay. They're gonna, like, honestly, that was the whole massive issue in the last game, was just how Chad he was, and his team is definitely willing to throw if he's not there. So that's definitely something that Kabum can do here, is by reinvesting in this top lane, and at bare minimum, tilting Red's top laner would be just a good credit to seeing if they can actually get a really solid team fight off, because I haven't really seen it quite yet. JoJo comes in just for a little hello, just to say, hey ladies, I'm back here. I'm back from the war, I guess. I don't know what the top lane war, since that's what this one's all been all about. My husband's back from the war. That was actually very funny. It was just like a little boop on the snoot and then walks out.
Yep.
Resets the lane. That was nice. Everybody's actually playing pretty nicely here, but it's about to get kind of nasty. We do see Grefthar trying to get a little bit of Roman here, try to get a little bit of vision and cause a little bit of upset in the flow of that lane state, just to keep it exactly where Red wants it. So it does look like we may actually be doubling down and focusing a ton on the bot lane, because everybody's eyes are there. Everybody is working towards making sure that they have a smooth laning phase, that they're getting, we've reset this lane twice already, and we're only in like 6.5 minutes. So everybody on the bot lane for Red is coming together, as a family should, to see if we can't get them ahead. And away from this this terrible Sivir. The Sivir has been a huge pain in the ass globally. Once again, big global picks for everybody the world over here. But I think that we've figured out how to handle it and how to deal with it, is to kill her before she can kill you and before her front line can come save her. So
yeah, Red certainly spending a lot of resources in this early game to try and set Duds the Boy behind the curve, especially because when you look at both AD carries, they both are great team fighters, scale fairly well. So really it's Red saying, if we can get Teton ahead of the curve, utilize the Sivir and just say, hey, guess what? We see your late game carry. We just raise you a better one here with the Aphelios. So we'll see Red doing a good job of putting some resources into that Aphelios early on. We'll have to see if it can pay off. First Infernal Drake is live. Rift Herald soon to follow here. Some wards being spent in the area. Red moving up towards this topside river, so we may get some early action at this first Rift Herald. 2 kills apiece, and we are dead even in gold.
Dead even in gold, kind of where we were in the last game, but not necessarily in the same place. Looks like Kabum is actually showing a lot of respect to the lane phase, which is really, really bad for them in the later game. To not be able to try to disrespect what Red is building here in terms of scaling might be a fatal error, but I also believe that you had mentioned it before, the wombo combo and layering potential for what Kabum has is a great insurance for later team fights. It will help them have a higher margin of error. So let's see if we can see that in action. Everybody's level 6 so far, so we have all the tools that we need, except JoJo. Not to call it JoJo, but
except for JoJo, and I called them LPL Junior, and there is no more LPL trait than meeting at the Rift Herald at 8 minutes, and Grefthar picks up a kill there onto Parang. So new game, but the same story apparently. Parang falling early on. JoJo able to get out of trouble, does have to spend his flash there, but that's the Rift Herald picked up by the Red Canids. Another kill as well, and they will reset, move back out onto the map.
All right, things are a little peaceful here on the home front, but like we had said before, we do want to set up for the fact that this is most likely going to what did you were using such a good word now, and now like the team fighting profile. What were you saying? It was such a good term, like set of terminology that I had not heard before. But anyway, when we're talking about their like team fight potential going forward, both of these teams seem to have drafted to have, like, for example, Kabum, they have enough space in between what Red wants to do, but Red has a very, very powerful combo as well for getting on top. So it's just a matter of who steps up to who in the wrong way, and whether or not the other team can deal with it. And yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Red has less of a margin of error here. They generally want to be the aggressors. They don't necessarily want to be on the back foot here, and you can kind of see that's demonstrative by what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's both teams have so much engage ability as Wiz is going to use it here onto Grevthar. Is going to try chase down the mid laner. It is going to be able to do so. Big kill there onto Grevthar, and Aegis going to follow as well as Perang comes in for the flank. Kaboom. Seemingly kind of making something out of nothing there. They pick up 2
Yeah.
kills, and now they're on their way to the bottom lane. They may catch out Teton and Jojo. We'll find out.
Yeah, that was actually really nasty too, just getting caught out like that on a nice little stroll through the jungle here. Grefthar, that is one of, again, the Canids things is that they love to try to bait teams into getting caught out, but if the rest of the team isn't ready to cash in on that, or they're outnumbered, or they're not at the right place where they need to be in terms of scaling, it can be a huge problem. So without the presence of House as well, it doesn't really amount to much of anything. Just that quick kill on Grefthar, and then we're back in it. 500 gold disparity, barely anything at all. Significant at 11 minutes, but not necessarily make or break. I'm hoping that we will see Kabum execute this team fight, execute something that looks and feels really good multiple times with some consistency. That will be their key to winning this particular game. I don't necessarily think it's in rotations. I don't necessarily think it's in outscaling. I just think it is in some good slick, solid controlling team fights at objectives that they definitely really want. So see if Kabum can execute that. They are going to have to cede some objectives to Red because they really can't get a lot done without having that full team fight. So mid to late game, I don't expect a ton of blood over objectives or anything like that, but Kabum has to eventually step up. And we saw there, they did get those picks in the jungle to prevent any sort of shenanigans from happening, any sort of mid dive, bot dive. So they are being aggressive. They are being, gosh, man, sometimes words escape me. I wanted to
You're
say
not alone there.
ambitious, but
Yes.
when you're doing something, you're doing your due diligence, you're being really not aggressive. Forward play. Oh, Kari, come on, you're the English native speaker. English major, in fact. I paid money so that people would be like, you good at words, and here I am. Proactive is the word. Proactive is the word that I was using, is that Kabum's being very proactive in a way that, sometimes a lot of people think, especially because of how Korea used to play back in the day, that, being passive is always okay. But it's not, because you can lose certain advantages. And we saw Red throw their advantages that they had gathered during the early to mid game in the last game. So Kabum not repeating those mistakes, making sure that they are punishing where they need to, and they are stopping plays in their tracks with Red is actually looking really good here. So crushing this early lane phase, they aren't necessarily so well ahead that they're going to blow it, though. Don't you think, Yeso?
Yeah, no, I think they're in a very good spot, and I had a very kind of salient picture come into my head when I thought about the drafts for both of these teams. So I want to kind of paint it here for you, Kari. It's very,
Please.
you had Kabum in red. They walk in, and it is this weapons shop, and you have your team fighting weapon and your split pushing one, and on all of these different weapons. Is Teton likely going to get taken out by the weapons here of Duds the Boy, but they will trade back 1 for 1 as Duds the Boy will fall there. But very specifically, Red and Kabum walked in, they looked at all of these different tools that they could use, and they didn't quite notice each other, and then they both reached and grabbed the same one at the same time, this big old bat that says team fight on it. They both kind of pulled it back and forth and said, no, I'm going to take it. No. And then they ended up just breaking it in half, and they each have one half of the team fight bat here. So we're going to get we're going to get some crazy 5v5s in this game. And I cannot wait. And the closer this game stays, the more compelling those team fights are going to be. And we are very close right now. Only a few hundred gold separating these teams. 1 Drake in favor of Red. So through 14 minutes as Unleashed teleports go live for our top laners and mid laners, it's going to be great. That's going to be Grevthar dashing in and say goodnight. House taken down by Aegis.
Nice to see it. Nice to hear it. We were talking about the engaged potential on both teams, and you're 100% right. That's such a good comparison. They both just grabbed the team fight bats, and they were like, you know what? See ya in the mid to late game. I'll have your blood on my hands. Yep. We're going to both see each other through the early to mid game phase, and then we'll meet each other, in the glorious field of Valhalla battle.
Yeah, I mean, what does Negan call his bat in The Walking Dead, right? They've both got the big bat with the barbed wire on it, and they're ready to just beat the hell out of each other. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. It's a good setup, too, honestly. I mean, it really we both kind of saw these drafts and we didn't think that we would see an extremely impressive, gank setup or a neutral objective setup. I mean, honestly, they're just walking into mid lane and
Yeah,
beating the
it's
shit
just
out of each
Wiz
other.
walking in stealth, and they're
Holy
able to take
shit!
out Brevthar, the cat on the back here of Wiz, able to help set up that kill. Aegis and Guigo have arrived to try and assist. Jojo a little late to the party, but should be able to get the headbutt pulverized, but a little late there to catch out Wiz, as it is just the clone that the cow finds under the tower. Meanwhile, Teton in the bottom lane able to clean up that tier 1 tower. So,
Nice.
interestingly enough, 2 games in a row, the red side bottom laner able to get a ton of plate gold and pick up that first tower. So, a nice start here, especially when you consider the fact that Teton also has a 40 CS lead.
Yeah, the 40 CS lead is a nice little polish to add less panic on the side of Red, but there is something to be said about, how does Red actually siege and how does Red actually walk up to these threats? Right now, there's really no answer, and we do have a jungler down on a death timer as well.
Yep. Aegis caught once again, 2-3-2 here so far, and has been punished for that positioning a few times already. And Teton likely to be punished here as well, though Kabum being very careful. They are going to take him out, though. House picks up that kill. So raid boss down, you could say, on the side of the Red Canids. Meanwhile, we're slap fighting once again in the top
Here
lane.
we
Well-timed
go.
stun there for Parang to deny the second activation on the Ornn ultimate, and will pick up the kill thanks to the assistance there of Wiz. And Kabum now 10 kills on the board.
I can't believe that I just gave Kabum the strat to overcome this against my favorite team. I'm going to be keeping my
How
mouth
could
shut
you
going
betray
forward.
Red Canids like that, Kari?
Deeply, yeah. That's both of our favorite team. Like, I mean, so's Kaboom, but like, even still, I love all my children equally. And then it's like
Yes.
earlier that day, I don't care for Kaboom. Like, very much not a nice thing to do. Or sorry, I don't care for Red Canids. Like, that's not a nice thing to do, but I'm glad to see them getting this second dragon. This is helping them through the lane phase. So they don't have a very strong early game. I mean, to their credit, neither does Kabum, but they have more mobility, so they are able to make these out rotations. They are able to make these extra plays. That's why they have these 5 extra kills on the board. But again, the scoreline and the money is really quite close. So despite all of that, then don't let the numbers distract you from the fact that Red Canids is once again in the wrong jungle.
Kaboom have been flanked. A teleport is on its way, and Jojo is going to go down.
What?
So the start of this fight is going okay. And so is Teton. Teton is dead. Aegis has to flag and drag over the wall. So Red, they set up the flank. They get the engage, but it doesn't matter. Guigo somehow will get away. But regardless, that's another 2 kills for Kaboom.
They walked in there on they were like, we're home, we're in our own jungle. And then Kaboom was like, how about bloodshed and sadness? Like, they literally just followed them back there and decided to cause a ruckus. That was actually really, really demoralizing. Very sloppy, unfortunately, on the side of Red Canids for the way that they actually reacted to that. Look at this behind. This is actually insane. This is what Red Canids should be doing to them. This is what Red Canids should be doing to Kaboom. This is actually really slick and very good.
And this is part of the reason why that Wukong has had such a high priority
Disgusting.
in
He can just go wherever he
CBLOL
wants.
and globally all season long. Solid early game, right? His early clear did get nerfed a couple of patches ago, but is still strong in these early levels and is also a very good backline threat. Teton stepping forward, thinking that he could kind of free fire on those priority targets, and Wiz says, no, don't you dare look cross-eyed at my AD carry. I'm gonna come over there and make you pay. And Wiz definitely did so.
I really feel like, all jokes aside, everybody mutes the broadcast. We know that better than anybody. And I'm just
Hello over there.
Hello, can you read our lips? You can't because our cameras aren't here
Nope.
either. Enjoy your piece. I do want to say that Kaboom, it really seems to have gone back, or at least like highlighted what they kind of messed up in the last game and really battened down the hatches here. A lot of their less well-maintained parts of this laning phase have been buttoned up very well. They've done a very good job of supporting, and they've also done a really good job of not overextending, because they don't need to. They have a great team fight. All they need to do is wait.
Red caught there. What a beautiful shockwave to catch Aegis and Jojo. They thought they might have escaped, but it was not going to be. Aegis running away here, trying to escape. Boomerang Blade will just miss. Grevthar flashes away. It doesn't matter, though. Aegis is dead. Grevthar is 2. That's 3 down on the side of Red Canids. And now Kabum, with a Rift Herald to back them up, are on a big push in the bottom lane.
Quick aside, I just want to say, it was you, me, Dia. We were chatting about, the likelihood of each team winning. And I remember that Axeman, let's go over here really quick, just super fast. Chen, no.
Not even quick enough, because Teton is dead.
Trying to bring some LPL into the situation. That was my bad. We were talking to Axeman about what he thought, who had the chances of winning, and he just said that Kabum is a little more consistent, a little bit more reliable. He's also a really big Kabum fan. All of us, CBLOL unofficial English casters have our own biases, but I'm starting to actually see and understand what you and Axeman were both talking about, how they are using feedback from the last game to become obviously they're seeing these opportunities to punish and they're actually taking them now. So instead of getting this nice meaty lead and then sort of letting it fall into obscurity, they're now starting to keep an eye for very severe this is severe punishment, Yeso. So I'm actually quite impressed with this reaction, and I can't say that I hate it for them because they clearly have learned from the last game.
Yeah, and it's definitely a very clear sign that while Kabum do have some disengage options themselves, not nearly as many available for the side of Red Canids.
No.
They really are a composition that is either going forward or you're likely losing fights because you do not kite, you do not play back that well. You have to be engaging, starting plays yourselves, and running away there in the bottom lane did not pay off there for the side of Red Canids here. And Grevthar is caught out. Wiz going to pick up that kill. Wiz and Parang duoing there to pick up the mid laner here for Red Canids. And now we were talking about how close this game was for so long. Only a few hundred gold separating these teams. That has ballooned here, though. Almost a 6,000 gold lead here for Kabum. They have tripled the kill total for Red Canids, and they have their eyes set on a possible early Baron. They've got a flank here on Red Canids, possibly. Wait, no, Wiz most likely going to get caught, flag, and drag in. Comboed with the Alistar. Wiz will go gold for the time being, and Houses here for the assist, but can the monkey escape? The clone will get taken out, locked down now inside of the Cataclysm, and Red, they just can't kill Wiz. They all get taken out. They have the numbers advantage, but it doesn't even matter. Now Guigo fighting the 1v1 here with Parang. Parang just buying time for the rest of the team to arrive here. Guigo will flash over the wall, but they're still likely going to be able to chase him down if they so choose. They will not. They will turn to the Baron, and Kabum continue to snowball this game out of control.
This is a very different game. This is the game that I kind of, we were talking about how the last one was very chaotic, very sloppy, and this one is actually so polished by Kabum and almost less fun to watch, which is such a funny thing because they are doing, this is beautiful League of Legends on the side of Kabum. They are holding on to this lead for dear life. It's just hard to watch another team get stomped after another team has learned such a serious lesson about hanging on to a lead. If you are the kind of team that can follow up and hang on to your lead, then you can push that into a win very, very obviously, and that's happening here. This thing is starting to crumble and fall in Red Canids' hands. They literally have no recourse whatsoever. They have no sieging potential. They have very little pick potential. Well, they have a bit of pick potential, but this whole composition was meant to fight together. Like you had said, they are supposed to be the aggressors, and yet here they are in the face of Kabum, who also could be the aggressors, but they have just the superior everything. They have the gold, they have the team fight. I like how Red is they're just sharing the dragon here, just in complete harmony.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work out for them because Parang applying pressure there to Teton, and Guigo is down. A wonderful shockwave is going to catch 4, but the damage, Teton's still alive and is just dealing out the deeps, but it doesn't matter because guess what? Wiz is an absolute menace, picks up the triple kill, picks up the ace, they pick up the Drake, and they're looking to pick up a win.
Okay, so should we just turn on Yakety Sax? Do we have the rights to Yakety Sax, Dia?
Yep.
Did we get
Run
those? We obviously have a huge budget here at the unofficial CBLOL broadcast, so I would like to get the Yakety Sax on, and you know what? We're just gonna head out, so we're just gonna head out because we got this is beautiful, by the way. That was beautiful. Yeah. It was very funny how Red Canids just kind of came up to the dragon. They're like, hey, you guys here too? Like they were eating or something together. Like they just look at how it's very funny for the briefest moment. Everybody's just there in harmony hitting the dragon, then they're like, wait a minute. You're not supposed to be here. Yubi was like, I'm feeling a little vengeful. I think it's time to die. And that is where things start to go very, very disgustingly wrong, is that Skuro. And then you see everything else just fall apart there. And you know, props to Wiz on this Wukong, but it feels like cheating. I'm not gonna lie, I was not aware of, like, even if he's had nerfs as well, the confidence with which he is playing this champ is pretty nasty. It's pretty terrifyingly nasty, and you can even see the XP per level thing that just came up there. You can see that Wiz is so busy on this Wukong that he is way far behind in XP as well. So honestly, even with like level deficits, he still lays down so much punishment. It's kind of nutsy. So couldn't have warned me. I would have had to see it with my own two eyes because I wouldn't have believed you.
Wiz is looking very good, and also House with the perfectly timed shockwave there to
It
set
was
up those kills,
beautiful. I love a
get those health
shockwave.
bars low here. And Guigo looking for an engage there, will force out the flash from the Orianna, is still going to get the knock if they're going to be able to chain that here. And the dash in from Grevthar isn't even necessary because the Orianna is already down. The ultimate comes out from the Yuumi to try and set up a bit of disengage, and Parang able to take out Teton. That's a huge priority target, but it might not matter. Such tanky members here for the Red Canids, but Duds the boy going to be able to knock down Guigo. It is a 3-for-2 trade. No, 2-for-2, I should say, but maybe 3-for-2 now as Grevthar trying to run. Duds the boy flashes in, isn't able to get that last auto off onto
Oh my
Grevthar,
god,
but the finish there
no.
for Skuro
What
onto
is
Aegis
this?
will give
What?
Kabum access to the base.
I can hear you smiling as I get more confused and upset. I can hear you making the calls and are you giggling over there? That was really like,
What? No, get out
yeah,
of here.
me, not for Kaboom. I mean, okay, so if the last game made both teams look really good, this one did not make Red Canids look incredible. I mean, there's the smallest there actually isn't. I don't want to misrepresent it. I'm a color caster, but I'm also an honest person. There's no recovery possible right now for Red Canids unless Kaboom makes a mistake. So there are certain points in the game where, like, they see this flank here from Guigo. This could be a wipe, but is that enough to resecure the game? No, his team's already going to be dead before he even walks up.
JoJo's out a couple of counties away, right?
Yeah.
He's still walking over here, and his
He's
team
in New Jersey.
dying. Yeah.
New Jersey.
the inhibitor is gone. They're turning their eyes onto mid. Meanwhile, hey, Guigo.
He's like tempting with his body, and they're like, no thanks.
Side. Yeah, Teton is going to go down here. Wiz continues to be an absolute problem here for the Red Canids. It is Parang trying to threaten Aegis there. One inhibitor. Two inhibitors. Three inhibitors.
So much trouble right now. You are in so much. By the way, the Muppets, like, my favorite franchise of all time. So incredible. Great job.
You're welcome.
Sesame Street, my favorite. Like, I learned how to count. There's no shame in that. But that wasn't that funny. Like, we go in the back being like, look at how tempting I am. And everybody on Kabum being like, nah. Like, no, thank you.
But what that bass do?
Yeah, what that bass? What that like, I know what those horns do, but what that bass do? Like, oh.
Wow.
This is kind of a bummer game. It's hard not to meme when you know that some specific outcomes. It's very GG next. However, there's a light side to this, and that is that you know, let's talk about something else. Okay.
I mean, look, it's very, very clearly a game that was close in the early game. They were kind of trading back and forth. Red did a good job of setting Duds the boy behind the curve, right? Teton had a great start to the game. Not a ton of kills, but had the CS lead. Exactly. Yep. So they got the ball rolling on the bottom side, but things just fell apart after the 14-minute mark, where Kabum started to kind of break open that lead, started fighting the fights that they were looking for. And the big thing was Wiz hit that break point where he could kill Teton by himself.
So annoying.
And the game basically ended there. As soon as Teton was not a significant enough threat for anybody to pay him mind other than Wiz, Red didn't have options in these fights, and it has totally shifted the favor towards Kabum in this game. They're going to take a Baron here. They're going to head towards the base, 3 inhibs down, and they're looking to even up this series.
Yeah, they're looking to even up this series. It looks like Red just drafted a little too ego, because now they're getting egoed right back into their almost completely overtaken base. We've got one Nexus turret left up here to try to keep it together. If there is a team that can team fight their way out of the situation, it's probably Red Canids, but I'm not going to set anybody up for that. I don't think that's going to happen considering the over 10k gold lead that Kabum has. They should just be able to walk in and take it with this Baron buff. Shouldn't have too many problems.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy. House flashing in aggressively is going to get caught in the Cataclysm, and Guigo just trying to buy as much time as possible. But it really isn't going to matter because guess what? Wiz is the biggest problem on the map here. They will take the raid boss down, but their Nexus will fall in turn. That is a 1-1.